And welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, joined by another one of the Dudley Boys, Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture, to review everything that happened on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite 250. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete. Because, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, they're joined by Hamflett to review AEW Dynamite. No Sidge, unfortunately, today. But what do you make of this show?
I've been nervous to sit down and talk about it, to be honest. What helped my overview of this show was that me and you chopped it up over Will Ospreay and MJF for about 15, 16 minutes, which will be on the WhatCulture Wrestling main YouTube channel.
And available as a podcast, of course.
Of course. Which, frankly, is better for us because then there's no comments on the podcast.
Yes.
And that helped me sort of like talk through a few thoughts before we sat down to do a long form of this. I didn't think this was a very good Dynamite, and I've been super, super high on Dynamite of late. We did a preview yesterday that I'd been itching to sit and talk about just last week's Dynamite, and there was the Dynamite before that had the MJF turn on Daniel Garcia. It feels like AEW is cooking. Like Wembley feels like a destination as opposed to last year when CM Punk was the only person talking about it. It's exciting again, and it couldn't be a better time for it to be exciting again. And I sort of thought this show missed the mark, and maybe some of that is tied to my opinion on the opener, which I've got mixed thoughts on, because some people absolutely adored this, and a lot of people hated it. I've seen every reaction to this match today.
Matt Reigns, obviously, regular contributor, I think loved it.
Love him. Best friend, if anything.
Best TV match of the year, I think he said. I don't think he said nothing else is going to come close, so he's just called it there.
Well, like not all of his opinions are right.
But like you say, I always feel bad because if I say divided opinion, then everyone in the comments or on replies on X say like, well, I loved it. And that's the thing.
I don't like coming in.
Some people will think that this is untouchable. And some people will think, well, we'll get into it.
I hate the feeling that somebody might tune into this review and then hear some sort of like negativity within the first minute and go, right, switch off, not for me, because I don't want to invalidate anybody's love of this match or indeed love of this episode of Dynamite. It was a historic one. Mm-hmm. And there was lots to pick at, but I don't know. Over a course of 2 hours, I felt too much missed the mark, and I was really, really hyped for the show.
Willing it into,
Totally, yeah. I have no doubts or fears about the quality of Allin or AEW going forward. I think they're in a really, really good place. I just don't think you're going to get home runs every week, and they were swinging for one here and missed.
Yeah, I know Sidge he's got commitments. He's not off ill or anything like that, and I would... desperate to find out his thoughts on this, so we will circle back to it on the Collision preview tomorrow. Just because, like you say, it's such a big thing. This MJF Osprey.
Well, I don't know. Like, will you have time? Have you seen one of the matches announced for Collision?
I have indeed.
Oh my god.
But we have to start with the opener, the entire first hour, basically. I'll be honest. I've not necessarily down tools, but halfway through this match, I gave up. Making sort of notes to lead you. Sometimes I try to give you a sense of this happened, which led to this, and I try and cover that off in case you haven't seen it. Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to watch this match to really engage with how people think about it. I'm just going to run you through some of the insane spots, because one thing you cannot deny, and we talked about this as well, was the effort these two put in 59 minutes and 58 seconds. There's no argument against that. It wasn't, by no stretch of the imagination, was it a bad match. It's just some people think it's match of the year. Some people think it's the way that you should do wrestling matches on television, the way wrestling shows should be presented, and some people didn't think that. We'll get into it, as I say. So, you had, Osprey's been in the wars here. He had a bad leg that MJF targeted with figure fours and the like, and his shoulder, where I think he was suffering with it already, had kinesio tape and stuff, usual things to hold Will Ospreay together. But I think it was when he missed the Oz cutter on the apron, was when he told the ref, my shoulder's gone. And subsequently, on another ad break, the medical person whose name completely escapes.
Doc Samson.
Thank you. Has to pop it back in for him. I did like the part This has been shared all over social media, where MJF tries bailing through the crowd. And again, this is one of those issues that we'll circle back to of like, you either allow for it because you're so into the match, and I do. I think it's a bit like, oh, they should have been counted out. Well, it's a big match. It's two people I'd really enjoy watching, and I don't want it to be undercut because, technically they haven't been. I know it went longer than 10 seconds, way longer than that. And the
Triple H and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 17 worked about 15 minutes while the referee sold an errant elbow to the face. You can cheat it in lots of different ways, and this wasn't a bad one.
But they brawl into the crowd, and at one point, Ospreay holds MJF in place so a small girl can punch him.
That's like fun. Now, what we know about how wrestling has worked over the years and the passage of time, that girl will inevitably train to become a wrestler.
Yes.
And like there'll be some LTST now for a future match with MJF.
Just some of the big spots. There was a Poison Rana. Always love a Poison Rana from Will Ospreay. They both went for crossroads. Ospreay hit his and then winked. There were several styles clashes from Will Ospreay, including a sort of super one from the middle rope, I believe. MJF, that was the bit, went to the Hurricane Rana, and that got counted into an avalanche styles clash. MJF gets the rope break, targets the bad arm, hit a heat seeker, and then put Ospreay up through a table that had been set up at ringside. Again, one of those contentious issues, let's say, with this match. MJF teases the kangaroo kick. Ospreay blocks. Cheeky Nando's tries another Poison Rana, but MJF lands on his feet, which got a huge pop from me. And then, obviously, an even bigger pop came from the audience when Will Ospreay countered a Poison Rana to landing on his feet. Even better.
Yeah.
The
shot of MJF's face, realising what was happening without needing to look, was that nice, artful way to shoot a moment like that as well, to register it all in the building. It was great.
I also like the bit where MJF's mocking the crowd and just eats a hook kick from Will Ospreay, who went for an Oz cutter, got cut off by a thrust kick in midair, but Ospreay hit a stun dog and a Spanish fly for 2. Took too long in the corner. MJF wanted an avalanche tombstone, but Ospreay counted into a springboard Oz cutter and a hidden blade for 2.
Oh my God.
I've forgotten to use that earlier, so I'll just...
Absolutely worthy of those.
MJF spits in Ospreay's face after he misses a shot. That we get informed there's 60 seconds left. Time is up on the thing. Ospreay's in position to hit a Tiger Driver. Gets him up, but then thinks better of it. He can't bring himself to do it, basically. And then we get the ref bump. MJF shoved into Ospreay. Sorry, MJF shoves Ospreay into the referee and then clobbers him with the beautiful diamond ring to get the pin and win the international title with 59 minutes and 58 seconds on the clock. Just 2 seconds remaining in this match. Post-match, MJF gets the oxygen. He's held up. He's got the international title. He's very pleased with himself. You and I both know this is not the last time these two will face off. No. But yeah, fair play. 59 minutes and 58 seconds.
The oxygen mask as a callback to the last time he went an hour against Bryan, and that being integral to him winning as well. This is the thing, right? There's loads. I really do want people to watch the video, and we'll try and encapsulate what we said in that video here as well. But I'm conscious of not like repeating everything. There was so much to love here, but I sense one of the... I don't want to talk about people talking about the match. I'd rather talk about the match, but you kind of have to do both here. I think if you don't really like MJF, and a lot of people have turned on MJF's work, or if you don't like Will Ospreay, and I sometimes find Will Ospreay is not really for me, there was so much of both of them. That's why you would not like this match.
Yes.
That's why. Like, if you're the sort of person, and I sometimes fall into this, I think, where nothing being the finisher, like endless kick, in a Will Ospreay match in particular, the final stretch of a Will Ospreay match where, regardless of how amazing the physicality is, the athleticism, the endurance in this case, how just triumphs of the human body, frankly, that it can do the things that Will Ospreay makes his do and the things that MJF makes his do. If you watch that and feel a bit like emotionally distanced from it, it starts to not matter what they're doing to each other. So it starts to, like, MJF does hit the avalanche tombstone in the end and gets a 2.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay hits the middle rope styles clash and gets a 2. And those just stop registering. And they did for me here. Now, I don't like that as a general take. You can't apply that to any old match. Context is everything for stuff like this. There are sometimes like a cycle of a repetition of moves where it becomes just the most exciting thing you've ever seen in your life. In a building, it's brilliant. In a building.
Oh, absolutely.
This building and like everyone in there, they were in Arkansas, but I can't remember the name of the town.
Yeah, no. Let me just. I've got the stuff up here on CageMatch. Oh, Little Cark, Arkansas.
Thank you. Yeah. The crowd there they were rock hard for all night. There was nothing little about the cocks in the building there. Like, they were great crowd all night. Yeah. Great crowd for this match. So you have wrestled a match. Like, how many times have we seen a match play out to nowhere near enough crowd reaction? Then it doesn't matter what you're doing. I want to see like a hot building getting energized for it, and especially in like the last 10 minutes, because of course we pointed this out as well. I think around the 25-minute mark, a lot of people's like wrestling brain or klaxon would have been blaring that this is going to go long. This might go the hour. Dynamite does this sometimes in the opening spot. MJF's done it before on pay-per-view. We had Danielson, Hangman, Tony Khan himself calling it like his favourite Dynamite match. Almost what might have been now a bit of foreshadowing. So that sense that it was going to go possibly the hour. And then you're starting to think, well, a draw would justify a rematch just as much as an MJF win.
Exactly.
So there's all the more reason to think this is going long, this is going long. It was kind of then I stopped investing in the result. I want to point out that I love that MJF won a match like this with the diamond ring. Like we talked about this yesterday. MJF is going to prove that he is Will Ospreay's equal and then cheat to win with his devastating knockout blow with a weapon. It keeps that weapon so over. I love that as a finish. I think that was absolutely the right call to put the belt on him, to do that finish, to rematch it for the title where Ospreay gets a chance to win it back. MJF has been healing very specifically on Britain and England ahead of this. Like, so he's chasing, like a lot of people accuse MJF of just wanting to be everything. So like he said on Collision, I don't care about Meltzer's ratings, I care about Nielsen's. And I'm watching this thinking, I think you care about both.
Yes, that's okay.
And that's all right. But All In, I think he's working to be the heel. I think everything he's saying about like British people and English people and sporting failures and all that sort of stuff, I think that's perfect for this. Because he wants to be booed
compromised to a permanent end.
He wants to be booed out the building at Wembley. He's not like, I don't think he can be accused of like chasing pops come Wembley time. And Will Ospreay will get, based on like the Jericho match last year, will just be maybe the biggest star of the whole evening, if not like top 2 or 3. So I have no fear of them being able to equal or top this at Wembley, even though they've just gone nearly 60 minutes on television in something people are calling the best AEW match ever. I think they can better it in less time.
I agree.
In that setting, personally.
They've got like 3 main event matches.
Yeah.
Straight off the top of my head that I can think of.
It's
actually, no, way more than that. Just off the top of my head, you've got Swerve, Bryan, you got this.
Yeah.
You've got the 2 women's title matches that are white hot.
Stacked already. It is absolutely, it's going to be an amazing night, and I'm so glad that they've put Wembley on the pedestal. It should have been on last year as well. It is where it belongs.
Okada confirmed, or?
No, it's not, and I actually think they're going to go in a different direction with Okada, which we'll talk about later. But
tag him with Mercedes Moné.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a couple of other things to this match as well. I'm going to repeat it. You're going to already be bored of this take because we talked about it over the desk and on other videos. There is a take that I agree with, that WWE is a show about wrestling, AEW is a wrestling show.
Yes.
And there's a crucial difference there. And I don't mind the difference, but it's a pretty specific reason why a lot of people just don't like WWE, because they feel like they're watching this soap opera or this like action adventure show that happens to have wrestling, and AEW is a wrestling show, and it always tried to market itself as that.
Yeah, literally, sorry, just quickly on that point, literally on Raw this week, there was like a 20-minute stretch of things that weren't wrestling, and then a 1-minute match. I think it was the Zelina Vega, Sonya Deville match, and then it was back to shenanigans, which compared to the first hour entirely being wrestling personifies your point.
And you know, if the balance is right, I don't care.
Exactly.
And I feel well fed on Monday night, you know? Like,
and Tuesday nights and Friday nights.
Indeed. What I think is happening in AEW, where the best wrestle, and what I felt here more than any match I can ever remember, and it's like crystallized something I've been trying to get in my head. There is a thing now with AEW where the match is about wrestling. It's not a wrestling match. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is the action taking place and how great you are supposed to receive this action becomes so much more important than the winner, the loser, the stakes, and the future of the characters, that it's like inadvertently built this wall between you and your emotions. Me and Sidge were talking about the Gunther Damian Priest promo over the desks yesterday because we were just catching up on wrestling stuff in general. And he said he was so engaged in Gunther's delivery that it was like, oh, I hope bloody Damian Priest beats him. In that way that like you just wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
We're all getting older and you've seen everything in wrestling. And you're like, of all the people, Damian Priest, the guy that's been accused of being a paper champion, but like Gunther was such a bastard there that you were like, come the night, am I just going to be rooting for Damian Priest? Regardless of the match quality.
We said it when Finn Balor probably screws him. He's like, you son of a... He's going to beat him.
I don't want to make this a WWE thing, right? Yeah. I promise you I'm trying not to, but like Damian Priest will not take the bumps and do the moves and be as electrifying as so much of this match was. He will not. I like Damian. He hasn't got that in him. No. He's a different type of guy. But there is the possibility that you'll be rooting for him to beat Gunther because of the way that's been laid out, which is a wrestling match, ultimately. Like, buy into the fiction as long as you possibly can, root for a winner, root for a loser, want to see the outcome. I kind of stopped caring about all of that and just found myself marveling at the athleticism.
It's incredible,
marveling at the endurance and how they still had the energy in them and how they could still take what they took. And like there were nice things.
It didn't feel cheap that they were like, hang on, his leg was hurting earlier, now his shoulder's hurting. It worked so well, just like he's been...
This section is going to be the arm, this section is going to be the leg. We're always going to keep the table there. It didn't betray like a lot of the core tenets of pro wrestling. But I think where people that hate it, I think a bit of it's coming from a dislike of MJF or a dislike of the Will Ospreay style.
Or a dislike of AEW. Because I'll get onto this cage match side of things in a second.
That's true, or a dislike of AEW. But I honestly think a lot of maybe like purists or hardcores will have felt an element of what I felt here, which is just all I am doing is being impressed at athletics. And to use like an extreme example, like remember when we used to like marvel at, say, if you put like a Bobby Lashley out there to do an assault course? Because physical feats are really like, but I get that from an episode of Gladiators or Ninja Warrior, right? That was this. Okay. I wasn't really super engaged in the fiction pretty much until like that last minute where the clock is winding down. And especially like with the finish, like there's MJF, all of this. I can do everything you can do, but I'll cheat, and you won't, and I'm a bastard. I'm all right, wanker me, and like I've won the belt and all that sort of stuff. And this brings me to my final point, because I feel like I've waffled for ages in a million different directions. I don't think the Tiger Driver thing works. I just don't. If Will Ospreay did nothing but headlock takeovers and just happened to have the Tiger Driver in his back pocket, right, then that's kind of an inspired bit of booking. Right now, this is Tony Soprano saying, I'm going to kill a bunch of guys, but I won't use a gun. Like, I might garrote you. I might throw you into the sea. I might send my guys to beat you to death, I might hit you in my car, but I won't use my gun, I promise. Right? That feels like what I'm watching with it. We watched 59 minutes of Will Ospreay stopping just short of killing MJF. Dropped him on his head, dropped him on his neck, dropped him on his back. Like, would do anything to beat him, right? And then it was like...
Hidden Blade is a really dangerous move when you think about it.
I just won't drop him on my neck that way. It just reminded me of that really, really lovely spot of MJF looking up at the screen and realising the Hidden Blade was behind him and just collapsed. Like, there was so many lovely little spots in this match that I think you could enjoy. But it was, say if there was 100 spots in this match, right? I think I could enjoy probably 95 of those 100. You know, when people make those supercut videos of matches on Twitter, which, by the way, I don't like because I think it's kind of missing the point. I think it exists for an audience that maybe just want to watch the moves and therefore don't understand what makes an entire complete match. This one might be the best one of those ever. If somebody made a 3-minute supercut of all the moves, or however long it would take to make it and put it on Twitter, bang, bang, move, 59 minutes, 58 seconds of moves, this might be one of the best ones of those you will ever see. But I think you would get a pretty good one of those if you made one of Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, because the headlock takeovers were crisp, but I never want to sit and watch the match again in my life because I was bored rigid by it.
Yeah, much rather watch this again.
It's a weird old thing, this one. And I don't want to discount or invalidate the people that thought it was the best match they've ever seen. I really don't want to. I worry earnestly that I'm disappointing people that couldn't wait to sit down and listen. It was all just luxuriant and how great this was. I feel guilty almost, but will you watch/remember this in a month? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm conflicted about talking about these reviews on CageMatch because you look at the general consensus online and, you know, people are loving it. Like I say, the CageMatch thing is what it is because we all know that sometimes these are manipulated.
Yeah.
Like I look here and on this like the ratings thing, or the comments and what have you. There's one here from NXT Security Detail.
Yeah.
One would assume they're not exactly going to be going, I need to go on there and make sure this gets its flowers.
If you put in WWE, AEW, or NXT or anything like that in your avatar. Paul from Connecticut gave this a 1.
Yeah. But I looked through there, just a snapshot of it. Rating 3, 7, 6, 9, 10, 9, 2, 7, 9. I saw one earlier that was 0. 10, there you go. It's a nice little snapshot. 4, 9, 7, 10, 2, 7, 8, 1, 9, 9, 9. Like, people, top comment here from Scrotal says, one of the best matches of the year, if not the match of the year. And then the immediate comment underneath it, it was incredibly boring and non-creative. Different types of targeting for the sake of targeting for 40 of 59 minutes. And then the other person says, normally, I wouldn't like to see the type of finish they went with, but under the circumstances, it sets up a rematch nicely. It was the right thing to use at the right time. If this was an Iron Man match, someone says, I'd have given it 11 out of 10. So, it's cage match, so take that with the pinch of whatever. Some people, like, there you go another few down. One of the greatest matches in AEW Dynamite history. Unbelievable match on free TV. So there's a lot of love out there. Tons of praise. This is one of the most subjective matches I think you can think of the year.
I'm glad it happened. Yes. I think AEW should, I've been saying this for months, like, lean in. You are, like, wear the best wrestlers a bit on the nose, but say it anyway. Have matches like this as, not all the time, obviously, but have matches like this as a reminder of what you offer as kind of like a fundamental core tenet of your business proposal. It's like I've probably landed on a perfect contrast in a way, because something like Damian Priest versus Jey Uso and this couldn't be further apart, but they are both what each company offers, and I want them to be different, and I want them to be sort of defined by certain things. I would take AEW running matches like this any day of the week over MJF and Adam Cole grappling with an inflatable crocodile in a backstage segment. It is very important, as proven last year, that AEW really leans into what it's great at. And, like, maybe it's spoiled. I don't know. Maybe you watch so much wrestling as part of your weekly diet that just things don't hit the same. But I promise you, like, I don't go into this not wanting to love it. I don't think... I will always keep saying, it's the last thing I'm going to say in it, but I always feel like it's a new thought that pops into my head. I think there is a real art to a great long match. I think this was a long match with great wrestlers. Just
to end on this, to circle back to cage match, despite the fact I've tried to say, let's not base it all on cage match reactions. The first review, 10 out of 10. Scheduled for the best TV game of the year, 2 stamina monsters. Yeah. A 5-star game without a doubt. Second review, 1 out of 10. Genuinely the worst match I've seen on Dynamite. Horrible match, horrible ending, horrible booking, some people say. Other people, boring, tedious, and offensive. This has to be one of the worst matches I've seen all year. By far, the best fight in Dynamite history. It just...
You know those MJF promos where he would say, like... If he's a heel, he would, like, shout at a babyface and say, you do something for all of these. They don't care. Don't do it for them. Do it for yourself. Do it for the money, because, like, they'll love you for a bit and they're fickle and they'll leave you and all that. He's right. Like, he's absolutely bang right, because, like, they have just gone out there and half killed themselves for the love of the game, and there'll be a bunch... If they go and log on or they sit and watch this, and I have fat loser with a square head has never taken a bump in his life that, like, dare to say that going an hour wasn't worth his time. Like, he's right. He's absolutely right to say that. But it is an art form that opens itself up to this subjective discussion. As long as you have it in good faith. Look, I want people in the comments here to tell us what they thought of the match. I don't want to know what they thought of me, but, like, I'm putting myself in front of a camera to have that people do that.
Yes.
And wrestlers do that too, even though what they're doing is this, like, physically amazing thing that, like, never gets enough credit either.
No.
Like, against other sports or athletics, it never ever gets anywhere near. Like, you will not see this level of athleticism in many other arenas.
They've risked missing Wembley for this.
Yeah.
Think about how innocuous some injuries we find out are.
Yeah.
And this is like, if
it's never the Tiger Driver. Ironically, it's the it's the
walk into the ring sometimes or whatever, or like. Yeah, and I know these two are two super workers, and they never put each other in danger in this match in terms of like a risky spot that they were not too confident on. You always felt that they were going to take care of each other, obviously. But at the end of the day, if you're talking about like ratcheting up the chance of you getting injured, going 59 minutes and 58 seconds and doing some of the spots they did in here.
Yep.
At that exhaustion level, it can only be commended.
This is it. There is so much to be impressed by that they did this, right down to the timing of it. Like the 59-58. Like there's loads to love about this, but I didn't love the match. Like as a whole, like it was good. Individual elements, tons of them, because it was an hour. There were tons of individual elements.
You also see, if you like this, you're thinking, why are you two not giving it all of the praise in the world?
I really liked it.
You really liked it, Nicholas did.
I'm feeling pretty stressed. I got to be honest now. I'm
really good bits in there.
Some good bits.
It was the greatest match of all time in Dynamite, but I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and I loved the spot where he was on the outside and he hidden blade and he was looking.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, the spot on the outside with the hidden blade, Nicholas just said in case you missed that. But yeah, this is the thing, like, I really enjoyed it, but would I say it's the best AEW match ever? Probably not. Would I say it's the best AEW match this year? Probably not. But other people will think it is the best match AEW, including pay-per-view, has ever put on, and I think they're absolutely fair to have that thought process. The good thing is, because this is my fear when they announced the match, you sense that, like we say, this isn't the last time we'll see these two in a ring. You sense that it's obviously heading to a rematch. And
how amazing is that, by the way?
One hopes are all in.
How amazing is that? To have the guts to be able to say, right, all we've got to do now is top it in front of the biggest crowd of the year. Top that in front of the biggest crowd of the year. So much, it's so admirable. Like, this was so admirable in like so many different respects.
We alluded to it on this review you mentioned there that we shot this morning. Nielsen ratings, Meltzer ratings, I'm fascinated to see what both of these are for this, because we sort of talked as well about how...
Dave goes 5.25 on it.
I think it's 5.5 maybe even. But they're going back to what they know, AEW, aren't they? In terms of, however you feel, whether you think the power's back or the power never went away, they are going back to... AEW's, mad to say that, 60-minute matches. AEW's bread and butter. But, like,
it's
what they know their audience likes to see. And I'm fascinated to see the breakdown from the brilliant Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics of, all right, we'll know they'll start on a certain number, depending on whatever the lead-in is. I never know whether Big Bang Theory's on or not, and I never understand why people actually watch that show. But... will it maintain? Will it even grow? Will it be people being like, these guys are going 60 minutes? Like you and I may sit here and say, yeah, after about 20 minutes, I thought, they're going long here. Other people might be like, oh my God. And I was excited that they were going to go so long, that we are going to get so much of these guys, and maybe not Chris Jericho, as a result of it. Will that bear out in the ratings? Will it be, I don't know. And that's not the be all and end all at the end of the day, because the AEW fans that love this will be talking about it for the rest of 2024. And it may even make people think, like, well, if they can do that there, what are they going to do at Wembley? Now I have to get a ticket.
Well, like, I think there's two things there, isn't there? The rating doesn't necessarily reflect where a product is, and you might be really excited about something, then it kind of doesn't deliver or whatever. But we've talked about this at length. It typically takes twice as long to reheat a product as it does heat it up for the first time. And AEW are in a long reheating phase. I can say... subjectively, but to me, subjectively, comfortably, 2024 has been a better product than 2023.
Yeah.
Right? So we're a minimum of 6 months into a product that feels like it is addressing some of the things that went a little bit wrong in 2023.
Sige isn't here, but like perfect analogy is like baked beans in terms of you can hoy baked beans in a microwave. You can zap them in 3 minutes and they'll be ready.
Right.
But slowly heat them in a pan, far better long term.
People say we can't talk food when he's not here. It's just stuff like this. You're right. Stuff like this might not be for the right now. We might not see quarter hours that reflect it, but absolutely keep doing it. You make a great point about the Wembley thing, because that is, 4 or 5 weeks away, and there's maybe another 10 to 15,000 tickets to sell, whatever. There's 50 something, I think there are, and there's 40 sold. Like, if they do shift more tickets to Wembley off the back of this match is already, like, metric-wise a success. But in a year's time, if the buildings are getting bigger again and the buildings are getting hotter again and the TV ratings are up in general, you absolutely have to point to that. It cannot just be, like, a character gets hot in February 2025 and thus AEW has this great March. No, it's like you're rebuilding the foundations, and this was, like, foundational in what's currently happening with AEW.
And then you've got the Garcia aspect to this as well to come back.
It's a match within a story rather than...
it wasn't just spots for spots' sake. They have put the work in here in terms of building a story.
I think bell to bell, there were elements where it was spots for spots' sake, but I think as part of the bigger picture, it didn't betray what it's part of and what it's involved with.
Yeah, I hope that they get the rewards that they deserve for putting their bodies on the line for this match like they did and putting it together the way that they did. Very happy for Max to be international champion, and obviously how that builds to one would assume a rematch. And like we say, if that's the catalyst for someone who lives, in the arse end of nowhere in the UK and says, you know what, no, I thought I was just going to be happy going to All In last year, I'm going to go back. I'm going to make a weekend of it. I'm going to go down. It's the bank holiday. I'm not just going to turn up at 5 p.m. on a Sunday. I want to go down and make a real weekend of it in London. Maybe I'll fit some other things in. Maybe I'll go over Tower Bridge. I'll go to look at the Big Ben or whatever. No. What else would you suggest for tourists?
I would suggest that hypothetical person. It's definitely just hypothetical. You're getting London wrong. Like the Underground is one.
Big Ben and Big Bill. Sorry, I just thought.
I literally suggested that for a T-shirt pitch yesterday. We are complete idiots. We are too simpatico at this point. London Underground is a wonderful service.
It is.
But getting to Wembley Park Station can be an absolute nightmare. So don't go to the Tower of London or like Big Ben or whichever loser lives at Buckingham Palace of a Sunday morning. Get yourself over there as quick as possible. You want to be getting over there, I would say, like no later than like midday, 12 p.m. Absolutely no later. And if you're not at Wembley itself, you want to be like less than a couple of minutes away. Definitely don't be any more than a very short walk away.
Sub 5 minutes is going to be my remit.
Like, and I'm pretty clear on that message.
Crystal clear, some might say.
I certainly would, because I'd probably go to the Crystal Club.
Huh?
Yeah, I'd probably...
What's happening there?
Well, around midday, maybe just beforehand, it's only going to be us lot.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Like, alongside our friends at Sweet Chin Disco.
We know those guys.
We do. Well, thank you for the Jaegers. I'm still a little bit rough off them.
Hi, Sam.
Come and join us for WhatCulture Live at Wembley-ish. Tickets on sale soon-ish.
Yeah.
Phil's told me today that we're still working on the site. It's going to be class. It's going to be all the usual nonsense like this, and it's going to be the perfect primer to All In. There's going to be drinks. There's going to be banter. There's going to be Simon Miller, so actually, please come.
Yeah.
And then... I don't know, like...
my problem I have, I love that as a pitch.
You just come with me with problems. I thought I'd given you all the solutions.
Well, yeah. So you go there, you're like, yeah, I'm buzzing now, go to All In. Yeah, All In, yeah, let's go.
Cody Rhodes.
And then it finishes, and it's just you obviously come and watch ups and downs and what went down get filmed. Obviously, that's part of the package.
Love it.
But then you're like, let's get on the tube. Bloody hell, look at that line for the tube. That's going to be, we're going to here for ages. A bit of a come down of like, oh, God, I really wish this night could keep going.
Have you ever even been to London?
Huh?
Don't get on the tube. Literally, don't get on the tube, Jesus Christ. There's that like massive walk trying to get out of Wembley. Like
you thought getting out of New Jersey was bad at 35. Jesus.
Don't leave the Wembley area.
Huh?
What do you want to do? You're about 2 minutes away. Another place we were talking about just before.
Yeah, there's not... this will surely be closed after we've done the...
You've probably forgotten about it. Remember we were talking about the Crystal Club 30 seconds ago? Yeah. It's still going to be open.
What do you mean? Who's going to be there?
Sweet Chin Disco.
Oh, you said them. We know those guys.
There is a massive, massive star host at the thing. Prince Nana is going to be there, along with Max Caster. And it's...
To hold that all together, you're going to need a pretty big legend.
Yeah, that's right, because MC is going to stand for massive... Adam Wilbourn is going to be there at the Sweet Chin Disco, and we'll probably all be there too. Come along and join us. It's a wrestling-themed club night. Vibes... Don't do that.
No,
it's vibes out
Don't
the
worry,
ass.
I'll be going nowhere near the decks.
In spite of everything we said, buy tickets to both these events. It's going to be just a fantastic wrestling day, and it's all at Wembley /2 minutes away from it. All right, Nicholas.
I don't know how to follow this.
Well, no, nor did the next guy on Dynamite, to be fair.
Yes, let's get to what came next.
Comes?
I mean, I was chatting to Sam yesterday. Obviously, he was the guy behind Sweet Chin Disco. Shout out to him, lovely bloke. About Max Caster, Prince Nana, going to be there. And genuinely, this isn't like what a tease this could be. Maybe other AEW people. They ain't got anywhere else to be either, so they could show up. And he's like, we don't know about anyone else, but if Jericho turns up, it is Chris Jericho at the end of the day.
To be fair, maybe he won't work all in.
So, after this, we are backstage with Max Caster and Anthony Bowens of The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, of course, and they're chatting to Mark Briscoe about Blood and Guts. It's next week.
I know, yeah.
I snuck up. And basically, Caster makes the case for The Acclaimed to be involved. Bowens says, basically, we are this close to becoming tag champs again. Everyone loves The Acclaimed. And again, if you're listening or watching this podcast, having not watched Dynamite, what are you doing? You do kind of need to watch at least the first hour or so of Dynamite to get the full picture of this. And if you're going to do that, watch the Mark Briscoe response, because I'm not even going to attempt it again. Mark Briscoe responds in the only way that he can, the very Mark Briscoe way, and effectively says, love to have you on board, but it's not my call, because the world champion's part of this team. We got 2 members of the 5 so far, of course. Swerve Strickland, who comes in and says, obviously, they've got a bit of history together. They've done battle. They've spilled blood. But who better to go into battle with than the ones you've previously fought? So he offers them the spot. So he got 4 of the 5 people on Team AEW. And basically, Mark says that they are going to pave the way to victory with the limbs and appendages of their enemies.
It was good stuff.
The team's shaping up. I like it.
Came with the relief that the 5th man wasn't Billy Gunn, didn't it? Let's be honest. So, yeah.
We'll have you. There's 4 people on the team.
Yeah, no, Mark Briscoe remains just an absolute treasure on this show every single week.
Yeah. So I know what you're thinking. We've flown through. There's been an hour of wrestling already. We've really got a champion versus champion match. You've got obviously all the fallout from what happened with Tony Storm and Mariah May. You've got a TBS championship match with Mercedes Moné. Really got to squeeze in everything. Maybe, a bit like, as you alluded to, that NXT episode with Joe and Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn, yeah.
They might have to just cut stuff out or not do stuff altogether as a result of this. But whew, panic ye not. Still time for and the learning tree.
Panic tree not. What was that tree called that they chopped down in the middle of the valley up here that everyone got really pissed off about? Sycamore Gap. Thank you, Nicholas. I didn't know that existed.
Well, I'm sick of more Chris Jericho. Big Bill introduces him and
this
Brian.
Is free. Tickets aren't by them, but this is free.
Chris Jericho talks about the crime rates of Little Kaka, Arkansas. Basically says they can do better. All the hi guys stuff. I killed Samoa Joe yet last week. He says he's been on the first Dynamite. He's been on almost every single one since. Whenever he did miss it, the branches get angry. He's never going to miss a Dynamite again.
Yeah.
And I mean, folks, where's the lie?
He's going to be here till Dynamite 500, which makes sense with that contract that TK gave him a few years ago.
It says bobbyfish.wav.
When you listen to the learning tree, good things happen. When you don't, people get hurt. Look at Shibata, look at Hook, look at Samoa Joe. He's begging these people. It all has to stop. Who would be crazy enough not to listen to the words of Chris Jericho, the learning tree? Minoru Suzuki's music hits. He comes down to the ring, Kaze Ninaray, and he's got a piece of paper in his hand. All he says is next week. And Brian Keith grabs the paper out of his hand and reads that they have a match. Jericho and Suzuki next week with Keith and Big Bill banned from ringside. It's all set for the episode of Dynamite, which is, of course, Blood and Guts next week. And he does the hey guys as well, which was quite nice.
Yeah, it's rubbish. Didn't Chris Jericho, didn't they sort of establish that he's got a bit of an in with the Elite?
I think so.
So what, they couldn't do anything about that contract? It's pretty stupid, isn't it? That's a pretty big plot hole.
They're going to hold all the power after Blood and Guts.
Are they? Like, where's find me the stakes and I'll read them out, because I haven't seen any attached to the match. This was rubbish. It's always rubbish. What was good about it? I had forgotten that they'd done the Minoru Suzuki tease, so that came as a bit of a shock.
Yeah,
I thought it was when he was talking about like psychotic, dangerous men. I thought, wow, and that was, yeah. But Minoru Suzuki will lose to Chris Jericho next week. Tune in.
Hey, let's not tread on the preview.
God, it's rubbish. What you want? Like, what do they want out of this? I continue to think it's for an audience of one, and the one isn't even the boss with his headset on backstage. Like,
hell of a spot in the what they called it? What was it called last week? The street fight.
The forklift.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What's Chris Jericho going to do at Wembley? They're learning Wembley. No. No more Freddie from Chris Jericho.
Should I dress as Freddie Mercury for Sweet Chin Disco?
Yes.
I'm already trying to decide. I might have some outfit changes at that show because there's too many things I want to wear.
Oh no, what possible box in your loft will you raid for that?
There's 2 of them, so not even a joke.
Costume box A, costume box B.
It's growing as well.
Because there's baby ones.
I need to, yeah. I need to get me an Outrunners t-shirt though.
Yeah.
God, I'd love to meet them. Please tell me they're coming to Wembo.
Yeah, send them to Wembley. I want the Outrunners.
I want if they came to Sweet Chin Disco.
Speaking of Freddie Mercury, get well seen Dalton Castle, by the way, but like that was the Outrunners. I was going to say the Out Here Brothers because we saw them on a gig lineup with the Boys.
We've got our December dates planned.
Yeah. No, the Outrunners now have got that had that role, and that's been cruelly taken away by Dalton Castle's current injury. So London.
Yeah, please, love to meet up with them, and keep your eye out, as we said, for the What Culture live show tickets going on sale. Anyway, we are backstage next with the Elites. They've got all the belts on. Nicholas Jackson says this is ridiculous. Claims obviously aren't going to take their titles. Matthew Jackson says next week we're going to have all the gold and all the power. Again, not sure about either of those things, but they did clarify they're not going to have all the gold.
Yeah.
But the world title, after what they're going to do to Swerve, he's probably going to have to vacate it, basically. We're dealing with the greatest tag team of all time. Anyway, next up, they are interrupted by Mercedes.
Money.
She thanks them ahead of her match with Nyla Rose for banning Britt Baker from backstage. Alliteration.
Nothing like.
They can celebrate without drama. And Kazuchika Okada asks Matthew to ask Mercedes to do the CEO dance. She does. He gets a little bit flustered.
Yeah, it's quite funny, this, isn't it? He's got a bit of a crush on Mercedes Moné. I love her with the Elite.
Yeah, it does work.
I think it has worked from the off. It's really great to see it together. Yeah, nice. This, I kind of want to see where this goes. It's something that if you're gonna not have Okada as the Rainmaker, and I know this has kind of been controversial and divisive and all that sort of stuff. People that didn't want him to go to WWE for things that have maybe just happened in AEW that he's become more of a comedic figure. Go all in with it. Like, you can do comedy. Let's get him in a romance story. Like, let's get him do all the daft stuff as a heel before you see the proper Rainmaker, and I'm all in favour of this sort of nonsense.
Young Bucks, Mercedes Moné, Dear Money. Thoughts?
T-shirt's already getting printed as we speak, probably. Like, not that you'd be able to buy it outside Wembley Way, but like, it'll definitely be getting printed.
Come to Wembley, watch Allin, maybe you'll buy 3 T-shirts.
One says, I was there. The other one says, I was there too.
Got to do better on the merch game.
Better with the merch, yeah.
Mercedes Moné versus Nyla Rose. Great to see Nyla back on Dynamite, of course. For the DBS Championship was next. It's Mercedes using her speed and Nyla Rose power game, of course. I did like the spot early on where Mercedes, it's like a tilt whirl into a DDT, and Nyla just stops it and says, "You lost your mind," effectively. We go to a break after Nyla hangs Mercedes on the top rope and does the flying knee to the back of the head off the top rope for a near fall to take us to break. When we come back, Mercedes is in control. Rose gets out of it though, snap suplex, clothesline, corner cannonball, gets 2. Moné fights back, hits a Vader bomb, double knee in the corner and a Meteora for a 2 count. She hits a diving bulldog, pulls out a glove with C CEO written on it, and fingernails, of course.
Yeah.
Gets the lockjaw. Rose bites out of it, though. So Mercedes Moné puts her in the bank statement, which is called the Statement Maker.
Statement Maker, yeah.
Gets the submission victory. I'll do it all now.
Yeah.
Celebrates afterwards, including ripping up the sign of a young Sting fan wearing a Sting mask and a very tightly wrapped hoodie. And, of course, it's revealed the person behind the Sting match is none other than Britt Baker, and security have to keep them apart, basically.
Yeah, a cute bit that Mercedes Moné had tried to freeze Britt Baker out of the 250th edition of Dynamite, and the commentators just didn't say she couldn't buy a ticket, so she's flouted the rules. For that, what I thought was the right amount of aggro to build with them this week, because you've got Blood and Guts next week. I think maybe 2 Dynamites, if I got my math right on that. Not many Dynamites left anyway between Blood and Guts and Wembley.
1, 2, 3, 4... 25th of August, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 more Dynamites.
Oh, after Blood and Guts?
No, after Blood and Guts. Sorry,
so now,
after Blood and Guts, 4 more.
So, you can't do much more than what you've already got with these two. So
it's set, isn't it?
Yeah. So, little interactions like this are perfect. You don't want to bore people with the story. There might be a contract sign or something, but even then, we've seen it before. Sometimes those segments talk people out of the peak investment in the match, and they're at the moment.
Don't tell me. We've had this a lot recently, particularly with AEW. Don't tell me who's going to win.
Yeah,
don't say. And Mercedes also is having her problems with so and so.
Yeah,
I don't want to know about her or Britt Baker's other issues. I want to see him fight, and then we'll just go from wherever we go from.
That's it. The challenge is to kind of minimise the interactions when you've got all this TV time, and I think this was an effective way of doing it. And I think the match was only all right. I was a little bit underwhelmed by a couple of chemistry issues that got in the way of you're right, the basic story, but the fun one. I just thought it'd be slightly sharper chemistry between the two than what we got. But I did really like the inability to win with the lockjaw. Yes, Nyla Rose just bit her hand, but people don't bite Britt Baker's hand. So we can infer from that Britt Baker is much better at pulling down the jaw than Mercedes Moné. It puts over the finisher. It's going to be a spot in the match. You've now got the glove spot that you can do in the match at Wembley. They should work at building things in that you want to see on the night. Britt Baker should wrestle between now and Wembley. What is going on in there?
You just lockjaw stuff.
Yeah.
I was off yesterday. I do apologise. Normal service has resumed now for at least 2 days. Well, not actually, because Sidge isn't here. But tomorrow, I think we're all back, and then at some point next week as well.
I hate it.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's not something we enjoy. But I had a.
You know what? You've 3 dads on this podcast. It's clues in the title. I don't like it any more than you do. Yeah.
I had a root canal yesterday. Wasn't the only one, so I've heard.
Yeah. A bit more on that later, I think.
And the classic, the cliche of why do dentists talk to you when you've got stuff in your mouth? So they inject me and they're waiting for it all go numb, and they're just making conversation oh, what do you do as a job? Well, do you like wrestling? I talk about it on the internet. What? And it eventually goes no, and they get this thing, and I didn't even realise that it was going to be it. And I prop my jaw open, and they put this thing in that basically covers my entire mouth to catch any of the crap that they're drilling or squirting at my tooth, so it doesn't just go down the back of my throat. Do you ever have the thing where people start getting wrestling wrong, but you literally physically can't correct them?
Oh, man.
So this guy likes wrestling. Oh, I like wrestling. My favourite is probably, this WrestleMania 17 when The Undertaker fought Stone Cold.
I got it wrong!
Stop getting it wrong! WrestleMania's on now. They must be on 32. No! WrestleMania, I look forward to it every August. They were lovely, to be fair. No, it's injecting a little bit more. Looks like we might have to go general anesthetic on this one. Anyway, back to AEW Dynamite.
Can you sign my Rey Mysterio actor again? It's
We see...
my favourite wrestler is probably Kane. Oh, I can kill you!
It's got to be... I love the guy that played Kane. Or Isaac Yankem. Both of them, really.
What What was Isaac Yankham's gimmick? Who are you? God, what a nightmare that would be to be in. Stop getting trivia wrong. But please be careful with that drill.
God, I'll never forget the WrestleMania, those little video packages. Your way.
Don't know that Britt Baker. You can tell she's not a real dentist. Glad you're better anyway. Wrestlers could learn a thing or two for you. Straight that way.
This guy in AEW. He's a really nasty guy. He's called Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I don't think he's got any friends. Is something wrong with your teeth, Mr. Wilbourn? I just don't know what to do prior to the All In show if I'm going. Right. We see a brilliant recap of I haven't had a chance to really talk about it on the podcast.
God.
The ending to last week's Dynamite. Mariah May winning the Owen Hart tournament, of course. And interspliced with the footage of her killing Toni Storm was her saying Timeless Toni Storm was like a mother to her, but nothing was going to stop her from winning the Owen Hart Cup. Tony, this one's for you. Before we get to Mariah May coming out to, explain her actions, I suppose. The scapegoat, Jack Perry's there. He flips a coin, says, Darby, if you wanted my attention, you only needed to ask, why did you have to hurt Brandon Cutler, though? And then he said, actually, what I meant to say is, do you think I give a about Brandon Cutler? And we realised that he's beating the crap out of him as well. And then he beats him up in a boiler room.
Yeah.
And says, I'll see you out there to show you what real sacrifice looks like, basically.
Nice touch, this, of Brandon just getting a kick in. Although I suppose who was holding the camera? Because Brandon Cutler filmed all their backstage things.
Yeah.
So, but, nice.
Can you film me? I'll do it. No, Brandon, you'll be needed for something else.
Don't want to tell you just yet. So, just briefly on this. Obviously, Darby Allin has slotted in quite nicely as Jack Perry's equal for blood and guts.
Yes.
Are they lining him up for Wembley and potentially trying to reclaim the TNT title, a title that Darby Allin feels strongly for, big match at Wembley, whatever? Was this a backstage attack with the view of them having some sort of like arena-wide brawl at Wembley that could involve Jack Perry getting attacked in Gorilla? Do you get it?
Yes.
No, I don't think you get it right. No, because you weren't there last year. You probably don't remember. So what happened was just before CM Punk went out, him and Jack Perry got in like a fight backstage.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone should have covered this.
Yeah. So, there's some footage out. You probably won't be able to find it. Nobody watched. But actually, more people watched probably than any other episode of the year. So what they'll probably do is set up that same, because it was in Wembley, same building.
Yeah.
So they could have it in the same place, but Darby Allin could attack him. But this time, you're glad to see him get attacked.
And then you could recreate the spot with Jack Perry on fire, and they'd be like, there's a fire. In case of fire, break real glass.
I love this.
Yeah, they're going to do some great stuff, these two.
Yeah.
They're going to try and kill each other.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, I felt awful for what came next. I alluded to it earlier on. Mariah May, or I should say Timeless Toni Storm comes out. And, a few things here. It was Mariah May as Timeless Toni Storm, I should say. And to coin a phrase from one Michael Sidgwick, unfortunately, you get her a red piss on carton.
Yeah.
They dropped the music, and you'd think there would be this cacophony of boos as a result of her actions last week. And there just wasn't. You'll get into why, I think, in a second. And May's just soaking it all in. Tony Schiavone goes, just speak, bitch. And I was like, whoa, Tony, is that okay?
I still don't know. I'm going to let the court of public opinion decide on that one. Yeah. I felt it was a little bit off. Taz and
MJF's one thing.
Taz and Excalibur were pretty quick to be, and then Tony Schiavone's like, well, come on, she's annoying. I don't know.
But anyway, I'll run you through what Mariah May said, and then we'll get your thoughts on this whole thing. Everyone saw it coming, she said, except Toni Storm. She's so obsessed with the spotlight. She didn't know she was giving it away. Why did it take me so long? I don't think it would last this long either, she says. But it was so easy and so much fun stringing Toni along. I wanted to see how far it could go, and then I saw Wembley. Why take the old horse out back when I could kill it in front of as many people as possible? I've been Toni Storm, but now I can be so much more. The crowd obviously chant for Toni Storm in this moment. May says she's never loved her more than when she was on her knees, bleeding, crying, and screaming out my name. That was a good touch. That was her greatest performance.
Oh my God.
But my greatest performance will be All In. Now All Elite Wrestling is all about Mariah. And she does the Toni Storm rolling around the ring in a top-down view as everything goes black and white to end this segment.
So, yeah, the content of this promo I thought was so strong that you had the Toni Storm chants at the end. Like, it sort of went like that, which is great because you want it to peak as the last shot you see of her, like she's getting the most heat and stuff. Because there was some what chants at points and there was the silence to begin with. And Mariah May's conviction and like the delivery with which she kind of like got this promo got everybody where you need to go. It was not great as a follow-up to what I think is like the best thing AEW has done this year and one of the best things the company has done ever. Quite honestly, that like closing stretch of Dynamite last week was
winsome. I watched it a lot later. I'd heard a lot about it. I'd seen maybe an image or two, but I tried to. I don't know. I know what's going to happen now, but I don't want to spoil it by seeing bits. I watched it last night ahead of Dynamite, and I was like, okay, stop now.
All-timer stuff for me. All-timer, but follow-up is important.
Yeah.
And I think there was something that they botched here, and it wasn't Mariah May's fault. And if anything, she worked through it. This probably, like this idea, this principle might not make sense to you, so I'll have to try and like lay it all out.
Okay.
There is a way of doing a parody, like an impression of somebody where you also wear the costume, where you also like dress up as somebody, that in order for that to work, this is like media studies theory, you have to be able to tell that the person isn't the person.
Right.
So, like, say, for example, if you were, we do this, right, as a video podcast now.
Yeah.
Say if you were going to, like, impersonate a wrestler, the people watching the video at home on YouTube have to know that it's you, Adam Wilbourn, and not the wrestler. I cannot think of one, but like, let's say you pretend to be a wrestler. They have to know it's you. If they just think outright it's the wrestler, the bit doesn't work. Do you see where I'm coming from? I know we've never really experimented with you getting in costume for stuff.
No. I mean, it's good to have, like, if you are going to be accused of being that wrestler, good to have a photo with them to prove that you are two separate entities.
Exactly, because the separation is key to any of this working. Mariah May walks out on the stage and everybody thinks it's Toni Storm.
Yes, that's the thing.
And I know...
They get the music, the Toni Storm music, I should have said, yes.
I'm not thick. Like, I know that's been part of the bit this whole time. Toni Storm's been having her in the game. Mariah May's been pretending to be a super fan in order. Like, that is fundamentally not a problem. The music stops, and as you say, it's the idea is that then there's going to be loads of boos there or not. Why? Because I think a bunch of people in the building still think it's Toni Storm, right? And on camera, you could be watching it and, like, you need to... Oh, yeah. It's like, she is... Toni Storm, right?
She's too good at it.
It's too good. It is too good. This was a flawed idea that I also would have done, right? I would have done this too if I was in charge of creative here, to be like, the one last impersonation of you is going to be this, like, I'm going to put a death knell in this now. It's all about Mariah. Like, it's this easy for me to be you, but you are not ready for when I'm me, right? I think that's like, and it's a story that they've told throughout because they've done such a great job of booking this character, but it inadvertently killed the bit. You had, for this to work, the second she turns around, the whole building needs to register that it's not her. And they don't, truthfully.
Is it weird that I drew comparisons, or I thought of as I was watching this, when that episode of the Raw happened and The Miz came out as The Rock with the bald wig on?
Right. That's a perfect wrestling example, right? Because if you remember, the camera zooms out and you see him walk in the aisle, and even from home, you're going, wait a second, The Rock's here, and the building's lost their mind for the music or whatever. And then pretty much as soon as he hits the ring, like, they want you to know it's The Miz, and The Miz shows you that it's him and not The Rock, and that you've just been fooled and all that sort of stuff. This didn't do anywhere near as good enough a job until it was too late, really, because the moment has gone, the moment has passed, and it's playing out to silence, of letting you know it was right. Maybe this is my, like, fed brain, and people are saying, no, it's just too thick. The noise in the building off last week's
absolutely.
beatdown would have been there, but they just inadvertently did too good a job of making her timeless Toni Storm. And by the time the music stopped, that like feeling of emotion just wasn't there. And she won it back. You kind of felt a bit of sympathy for her, I think. I felt a little bit of sympathy for Mariah May, which is the worst case scenario, right? Because you're supposed to absolutely hate her. They finally got the dynamic of the heel and babyface correct. And the staging of it was just...
And the promo wasn't helped because it was anticipating just trying to fight against booze almost. And
it was a
got there in the end, like you say, people were cheering for a
creative misfire in the start of it, but I think I would have made the same mistake too. I think it was the right thing to do to put to bed the Toni Storm imitation or whatever. But the hair and makeup was too. I don't know what it was. It was too impressive, and she's so good at imitating Toni Storm that I just think it inadvertently sort of hijacked the segment.
We see footage of the Bing Bing Gang getting stripped of their 6-man titles on Collision. If they didn't relinquish them, Christopher Daniels says you'll be suspended. You're not going to get a title shot, but they give them up. And Austin Gunn says they're not afraid of someone with a daddy fetish, a TikTok kid, a mum from Brazzers. I didn't get that reference. What's a mum from Brazzers? What's Brazzers? I'll probably Google that quickly. Hang on 1 second.
Does Mike know?
Brazzers. Just okay to use this on a work computer at work?
Just search it,
Yeah. Oh, bloody hell, internet's gone down. And a lizard. They're going to regain the titles. And
I hated this segment. I hated it.
Oh.
Why
are they? Is it because Jay White's injured? Is that right? Why they're...
Well, yeah, but like...
There's 3 people in the group.
Adam Cole was hanging together by a thread, and it was like, yeah, you can defend MJF's world title if you want. Like, remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They were like, they came through the curtain.
I see Christopher Daniels again, to be honest. I thought they'd forgotten about him.
Like, I wish they would. Like, he walked through the curtain, and they were like, I have to take these belts out of cold, dead hands. And I was like, no, I'll just take them with the thing. And all right. Are they baby faces or the heels? They're fighting the patriarchs to turn baby face for the benefit of this match, right? But they've given up the belts. That's a pretty loser thing to do as your first act as a baby face. And just, here you go. Loser assistant to the regional manager. Like, I thought this stunk. I thought this absolutely stunk. I hate those trios titles, and I never liked them in the first place.
Yeah, it was weird on this. Weird old segment.
Funny. Yes.
I'm just happy Juice Robinson's back.
Yeah. And with his first act, he surrenders a belt.
Anyway, main event time. Champion versus champion. World champion Swerve Strickland versus continental champion Kazuchika Okada. They counter out of each other's finishes. Stalemate. Strickland takes Okada down, hits the leaping uppercut off the second rope, mocks the Rainmaker pose. And Okada flapjacks to the floor on Strickland, though. And quickly, Okada goes out after him and hits the DDT to take us to a break. When we come back, Strickland gets back into it with a nasty-looking headbutt. Okada hits his drop kick, knocks Strickland off the ropes to the apron. Okada wanted a tombstone, but Strickland avoided. Rolling flatliner, vertical suplex gets 2. Okada cuts him off, though, hits the air raid crash on the knee. Top rope elbow and flips off the crowd during the Rainmaker pose. Strickland kips up, takedown, double down off a snap drop kick from Okada, though. There's the backbreaker into a spinning power slam from Strickland, who misses the swerve stomp and then gets hit by the tombstone by Okada. But as Okada tries for the Rainmaker, Strickland spins that into a swerve stomp. Looks like we're set for the finish, but the Young Bucks come in to cause the disqualification. They attack Swerve. The Acclaim comes out to even the odds. Scapegoat Jack Perry runs in. Mark Briscoe comes out with his fists taped. He takes out the Bucks with a dive. Perry hits Briscoe with a DDT, but Strickland hits him with a house call. And as Swerve stands tall, whose music hits, but none other than Hangman Page. It looks like we're going to get these two laying hands on each other, but as they're facing off, I think Hangman Page was on the apron. Okada pulls Swerve out of the ring for a brawl. Security separates Perry and the rest of them in the Bucks from the rest of the baby faces. Darby Allin's music hit. Where's he coming from? Is he coming down the ramp? Is he coming through the crowd? No. You get the Tony Schiavone. It's Darby. He's coming down from the rafters, a la Sting, of course. And the brawl breaks out. Not just involving the 10 men who are going to be involved in blood and guts, but security too. Darby Allin going for the eyes of Jack Perry. Chaos, mayhem to close out 250 episode of AEW Dynamite, and obviously tease blood and guts next week.
And like necessary as well, I think this was.
Oh, and Darby Allin's the 5th man, sorry.
Yeah, like a big, heavy go-home push for Blood and Guts, I think at the right time to do it when you've kind of addressed all the other big stories on the show and Wembley's in good health. This was the right spot and the right way, I think, of selling that match next week. And I don't think this has been in a particularly effective build. I think they've been too wishy-washy with the real impact of the Elite. When the Elite were first established as this new group of dickheads running the show backstage, you could kind of buy that there would be a bunch of babyfaces that would want to do something about it. I could buy enough that some babyfaces thought it was an atrocity what they did to Tony Khan, no matter how funny we found it. Like, I'll buy it within the fiction that, like, oh, no, that's you crossed the line. And then that happened. That was Anarchy in the Arena. So now it's just like, we've got to come together and stop them. Why? I don't know. But we do. And that wasn't the best build, but this was just a great fight.
Yeah.
This was just a really energetic fight.
Tease of,
a brawl. It was like very much as well, by the way, in tribute to like a lot of like Dynamite brawls like this that people love. So I think it's quite a nice thing to do when your 250th episode to be like, this is what we do. Like, in much the same way the opener, by the way, it's like, here's an hour of like some of the best execution of wrestling moves you can see. Here's also like a really heated brawl for a bloodbath we're going to do next week. It's that kind of only an AEW feeling. The match, however, I really enjoyed the match in the way that I would enjoy a SmackDown main event, which is appropriate, right? Because if anything, you'd think the Big Bang Theory was leading on a Friday because the whole universe is in a hot, dense space whenever the Fed rolls into town. But like, I didn't mind that it went to a DQ after 10 hot minutes of two massively over wrestlers doing all the signature spots, because sometimes that's just a really enjoyable bit of television.
Yeah.
They're not, like, AEW were not too liberal with DQs and countouts. It is still only used sparingly, and it's still only used in a way where I think it generates the maximum heat. I'm not going to, like, attack them for that, just like I wouldn't if it was on a Raw or a SmackDown where I thought, it's been used effectively here. Like, I didn't feel like it was a bait and switch. I didn't feel robbed or ripped off in any way by the fact the Young Bucks just came in and like stole the opportunity of Swerve Strickland beating Okada. I felt like from the very off I was watching a match that existed as an angle more than a match, but I got 10 great minutes and I got this glimpse of what this could be if the belts were on the line, or if on another day Okada and Swerve are going to fight for the world title. And on Kazuchika Okada, so I think there was a detail thrown in to the end of this that it's kind of inspired and kind of what you love about AEW, right? So on the preview yesterday, we talked about pretty much this. There's going to be an order of run-ins that is going to make you look for a split second at Hangman and Swerve. Something's got to take that away. Like, if Hangman isn't just killing him, what are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
Swerve has arrived on the scene and Hangman Page has gone, brilliant, I'm going to get out of this straight away. This is all I'm after, right? And you're going to get it in Blood and Guts, potentially, so I kind of want to sell you on that. But you didn't get it here, right? I think they are building to Hangman Page versus Kazuchika Okada at Wembley.
Wow.
And I think one of the things they will use to build that is that next week, somehow in the match, and this week, Hangman Page will be like, twice, you stopped me getting my hands on Kazuchika Okada. I only joined up with you guys because Matt and Nick told me that this would be the perfect opportunity to get him. And then you've taken that opportunity away. Like, the obsession with Swerve will drive all of Hangman's stories until he actually gets to him. And this is a pretty cool way. Say, for example, I don't know, it's a multi-man, so it's hard to just have them not get each other at all. But let's just say Swerve moves out the way of like an Okada drop kick. There's probably a better spot. But like, Swerve moves out the way, Okada drills Hangman before he can really get him, and he drills him by accident. And then Swerve gets the win for the baby faces, and Hangman's left thinking, I missed him again. Like, and at this
Swerve's
point,
woozy, Hangman Page is on the apron, setting up the buckshot, flips over, and he gets drop kicked by Okada before.
Perfect.
Perfect,
right? And all of a sudden then Page is like, it's a bit like, we say like the best feuds are Wrestler A and Wrestler B both want the title, but in going for that title, they've crashed into each other, Drew and Punk, and now they're just embroiled in this feud. And as soon as it's over with, they can get back to getting the belt. MJF and Punk, CM Punk and a bunch of guys. Like, this is that, but the title is Swerve to Page, and Page is like, Swerve, 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 Swerve. Danielson to Swerve. Like, Swerve, 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 Swerve. Okada. Like, Swerve. Like, that's the believable way in which you get to Swerve, to get to Okada and Page, even though they're on each other's team next week. And I think this was a really nice little way to start that off. Of all the people to be pulling Swerve out the ring, it was Okada.
Yeah, great ending to Dynamite to settle Blood and Guts next week. But do let us know. I'm fascinated to know your thoughts on this show. And obviously that 1 hour 59 minutes and 58
Please be
seconds
nice
running
to.
into. It's
pretty
all subjective.
stressed
Let's
about
just be nice about how we consume this. We can try at least.
Don't
But yeah, let us know your thoughts on it. And as I said, I will try and get Michael Sidgwick's thoughts on it on the Collision preview tomorrow. But for now, you can continue the conversation with us on X at WhatCulture WWE. Watch, you can follow both of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. You can follow our brilliant producer at It's Adam Nicholas. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. And make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. For now, this has been the AEW Dynamite review. My thanks to Michael Hamflett. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.